Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're watching from. My name is Philip Ailes. I am the founder and CEO of Ailes Solutions. Right now, one of our projects is about, or are about, getting veterans, first responders, and law enforcement to break out that trauma and try to live their happiest life from here on out. Because way I look at it is, we've done all the hard stuff when you're young, when you have time and no money. Now it's about, hey, I've got that situated. Now it's about living and getting in the moment and realizing you're the common denominator in everything going on in your life. And what I do is I like doing conversations with people that I meet in various groups or through LinkedIn or other medias or in person, that I know they are subject matter experts in what they do. They have a passion for it. And it's the ability to get a different perspective from someone that you would have never known about. And that I am thankful and grateful that I've had the opportunity to get to know them and see how what they say can also intertwine with what my philosophies are and what I'm looking to do with allowing people just to live their happiest life. Stop living in the past. Let's get in the moment. That's all we have. And so we can have a better future tomorrow. Because everything you do today directly affects where you'll be tomorrow. And the more you take care of that, you take care of yourself. It all starts with you. And so the topic we're looking at with Joy Langley, she is a emotional intelligence guru, as I would say.
If you say so, Philip, I'll take that. I felt like saying amen at the end of your speech. Amen. That sounded like a sermon, Philip.
Yes.
Seriously.
Hey, I greatly appreciate you. And just to give you guys a little bit of background, I met Joy on bringing humanity together, or was it one of the other chats that we're in? I go in and I follow a lot of people that are in emotional intelligence, mindfulness, self awareness, and that go into a little deeper underneath the layers and layers of things that are going on in your life, is to recognize it and to understand, then learn how to control it. And once you take those triggers away from everybody else, you're allowed to sit back and go, now I can act the way I want to act, not the way somebody triggers me to have an emotional response to. So, Joy, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Yeah, certainly, Philip. Well, I'm from the UK. You can probably recognize that from my accent. So, I'm from the UK and I've lived here all my life. My parents are both Jamaican. Unfortunately, they died 2 years ago, so they're no longer here. They got to the grand old age of 88 and they came to the UK in 1958, 59 from Jamaica. They were about 25 years old at the time. So I thought that was quite a brave move for a young couple because I would never consider that myself. And they had 5 children. So I'm one of 5 children. I'm the middle child. And I've got an elder sister. She's the eldest, and an elder brother, then a younger brother and a younger sister.
So, yeah, and that's fascinating that you guys grew up in a foreign land to you. And
Sorry, Philip. Is there feedback on this at all? I just
did
perhaps
you
it's
get
just my
feedback?
earpiece. Perhaps just my earpiece. I don't know. It just
Okay.
sounds as though there's an echo of some sort.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Well, you know what? These have technical difficulties as we go through them. But all right, so you were telling us that you're the third of five
Well, my
children.
parents, My parents came in 1959, and I'm one of 5 children.
Oh,
So
yeah, you
big
were.
families back in those days. So 5 probably felt like a very normal number. I don't know. It's a large number for me. I think it's a big number.
Do you have children yourself?
I had a son. My son was 23. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2018. So he was 23.
Sorry.
But he was a pretty, you know, strong lad up until that point. He managed to get himself into the car mechanics business, car technician, he called himself. At the
Oh,
age of 18, he was really, really dedicated. And he sort of moved on in that company when he was 16 as a work going to school, then having a Saturday job, and then ending up moving in there. So he was really happy there, but everything went a little bit wrong. In 2021-ish, 2021.
mhm.
Actually, let's go back a bit. Probably it would have been 2000. And sorry, I'm getting my numbers all wrong. But
That's all
he
right.
died in 2018, so it was about 2 years before that. He'd been given a bipolar diagnosis, which is not. People don't necessarily die from bipolar,
Mhm.
but obviously it's a debilitating mental health condition, and he couldn't stand it anymore. So he took his life, which was devastating for us as a family. But time has moved on, and this is year 5. So I'm finding my feet with that in a space. Still miss him terribly, but you have to decide that life is for living, and that's what you do. And I know you work with veterans. You yourself have been in combat and everything else, Philip. And the mind is very delicate, so we don't really know where the bad thoughts can go. I know personally, without even having been involved in anything as traumatic as that, when I got depressed in my 20s, that's where my thoughts went, unfortunately. I never did anything, but I hated my jobs, couldn't stand them. And after being in them for a very short time, I'd stand on the platform in London, the underground platform, and just think terrible things. So
Mhm.
like that train looks very interesting, Joy. So never did anything, but I'm not shy of talking about dark thoughts, suicidal thoughts. It depends on where your life is going, because people in a happy place don't think like that, do they?
No, they don't. And I have devoted a lot of my time and everything. I've taken the assist class, and I see that there's a desperate need. There's no one answer across the board, because I you don't know what someone else is thinking unless they communicate that to you. Or was there signs that he showed, or it just by due to the bipolar mental disorder?
I wish that there were signs, Philip, but I've been looking after him, I suppose, for a good, or he been came back home for a good, like, it felt like 7 to 8 months. So I really
Mhm.
thought he was on the mend, and we have quite good, reasonably good healthcare here. It's free. So I was with the mental health team and everything else. So they were trying to keep a lid on it, but it got complicated, and he's no longer here. And I think I'm a bit beyond trying to work out the what I could have done. I
Mhm.
spent quite a lot of time after that saying, what could I have done? What didn't I see? What did I miss? I'm a therapist. Isn't that terrible? People will never trust me again to work with them because I couldn't save my own son. So I've been through a lot of ideas around that. Just come to the conclusion that mental health issues, there is no clear cut solution.
Mhm.
That medication, although doctors are doing what they can, and the mental health team over here did what they could, I think it's still very much in a very crude sort of place. And I know that in the future somewhere, we'll look back at what we have given people for mental health conditions and just think, my God, what the hell were we doing? Giving them antidepressants, or giving them stuff for this, or giving them stuff for that, which actually made the problem worse, not better. And even then, the efficacy of pills and tablets. Sometimes they're not that high, but it's all we've got. So, you know, I could spend a lot of time being bitter and angry
Mhm.
at the mental health system, but it's all we've got. And I tried my best, so I had to work with people who are classified as the specialists. So that's just life. You know, as a mum, he's my only son, so that's tough on me. But
Mhm.
I think the beyond the questions, I have to look at solutions. And I found that a lot of people were attracted to me in terms of grief stuff after that.
Mhm.
Um, so life goes where it needs to go, Philip.
Yeah, and wow, that's an emotional thing that I don't think we've dove into in our other conversations. And you know what? That's a tough thing to deal with pushing yourself to understand it and realize that there's nothing we could have done
And this is
because
why, Philip, you're kind of talking about thoughts and people,
yes.
thoughts, where do they go? Can we read people's minds? Can they read mine? And the answer is no. I can't read your mind. You can't read mine. And unless I share stuff with you, or unless you share stuff with me, it's just a guess. And, you know, people reaching out for help is really where I'm at, even perhaps when you think that might be your last chance, your last conversation, I would say make that one more effort to reach out to someone, because I don't think I would like to see other families going through the pain that
Hmm.
continues long after the person has left. I also recognize that the person, when they're suffering, their pain is real too. So I try not to have a major judgment on it, but I would encourage somebody who's feeling really low, you know, and they feel as they really can't talk to anyone else about it. And this is that's it, they're disappearing. I call it the exit door. Like, just try one more time. I would
Yeah,
encourage you to try one more time.
and I follow that, and I can respect your decision to reach out because you never know, it might be that one last time them go, okay, well, I need to reevaluate this,
Yeah.
and you don't realize that there's so much help out there.
I'd like to think that there is, Philip. I mean, I hear contrary types of ideas. You know, British
Hmm.
in England, okay, in the UK, we have a health system which is free. You know, it's a bit creaking at the seams, but it's free. And I do hear quite sad stuff about America, simply because the healthcare system is one where you have to pay for it, or you've got that free tier, or you've got a system where you pay for it, but you don't get everything you need. So mental health, I can see, would be bottom of the list. It's almost bottom of the list in the UK. So if you have to pay for it, it's either what, find the money to do that, or find the money for food, or find the money for your housing. What are you going to take care of first? So I think it's a huge issue, Philip. I don't even pretend to know the answers, but you know, you asked me what I do, and so from the world of therapy and from the world of emotional intelligence coaching, I just know it's all about what's going on inside your brain, really, what's happening inside your brain. And your brain is fueled by your thoughts and your beliefs. So when you're having strange beliefs and strange thoughts that aren't making you feel happy, I think you should question whether they're true or whether they're false. Because I just simply go on the whole thing, like the emotions, you know, like the weather system. What's the weather system like? You know, is it raining? Is it sunny? Is it snow? What's going on for you? And emotional intelligence is about awareness, noticing, paying attention to your own, let's say, weather system, your own internal weather system.
Hmm.
Working out what's going on for you, working out what sets you off. You mentioned words like what triggers you, what sets you off. Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a smell? Is it a sound? You know, and you know, my heart goes out for anyone who has been in the military, and that includes yourself, Philip, because you're exposed to things which I know I wouldn't want to be exposed to. And I'm terrible at watching horror films on television. I just don't watch them. I'm too squeamish, and
Mhm.
this love of horror films and everything else. I'm like watching them through my fingers, Philip. But the reality is that life has got some terrible stuff in it. So military people, you see stuff that I've never seen. I don't know where you put it. I don't know how it affects you. PTSD is a real thing. It's a real thing, but I can see why it's a real thing. Because if I watch a horror film, that image is
It
almost,
could give you PTSD because
well,
it's
it's in my
so
mind forever.
traumatic.
Yeah, it's in my mind for forever, Philip. I just find it
Yeah.
really hard not. I just never forget it.
Yeah.
So
Zombies were bad for me when I was a kid.
what was that?
Zombies. Zombies freaked me out when I was a kid, and I had nightmares after watching Dawn of the Dead.
Exactly. Things like that, Philip. But in between human beings
Hmm.
wanting a quiet life, we also like a little bit of excitement. So, that fear thing and watching things, knowing that it's not true, that's very different. Me sitting there watching it through fingers thinking, oh, this is just a film. That's different to me watching an actual film of proper combat and knowing that what's happening there is real. So we do kind of know the difference between reality and fantasy. And I think with horror films and all those things, it's like human beings living out that part of them, but in a very safe way. I just know that it gives me nightmares, a bit like you, Philip. So I just don't indulge in that.
Yeah.
But real life, you've faced some real life stuff. I'm talking about films. They're
Yes.
very different things. So PTSD, coming back with ideas in your head, being a changed person, having to fit back into a society where everybody, may like you, may not like what you've done, because veterans are not always appreciated
No.
because of what they've done, depending on what side of the divide you are in terms of is war good or is it bad? But we've gone down a rabbit hole. So Philip, you've got to fish me back out.
Yeah. Well, hey, uh, that that went nothing on what I expected, but you know what? You brought up a major point where is the underlining reason why I love doing this. I love talking to different people because it's sharing that knowledge. Because I haven't gone through losing a child that way, and I couldn't. I can only empathize with you because that's what we have to do when bringing humanity together. It's not you go well. You've been blessed not to have to deal with death or destruction or dodging bullets and stuff like that because in a civilized world we create some sense of stability to where somebody's just not going to go on a rampage and
Well, we got these rules. We got lots and lots
yes,
of rules, haven't we? That are meant to keep us so-called civilized. But human beings, I think we are a bit too up ourselves, as I say. We don't
yeah,
realize we're just basically animals. We get stressed when we have a stress response, which is normally to danger. We're just in a survival mode a lot of the time. We don't realize that's where we're at. We put ourselves above the rest of the animal kingdom, but really and truly, there's a lot going on for us, which is just, basic instincts,
and
which society has, shut down with the rules. And you can tell sometimes when there's something going on that the rules just get put aside and then people just break out, and you think, wow, what possessed them? But you know what? Don't be shocked. Human beings, we have something inside of which isn't always great. Isn't always great. So, and when it comes to, I'm not even going to bring in things like, guns and knives and whatever. In the UK, even though we don't have guns, there are still shootings that happen.
mhm.
Over in the USA, you have your rights apparently to have guns. So you kind of then have to accept the fact that sometimes there are school shootings. That always breaks my heart. Or there's snipers, or there's I don't know, road rage, simple things like road rage. We don't have road rage going down the path within reason of someone taking out a gun and shooting you, but you're so angry that you could. But we certainly have knives and baseball bats and anything else that you can think because people are angry. So it's how are we handling these emotions, Philip? I'm an emotional intelligence coach, but I'd say you have to be aware of when you're switching from one emotion to another, and you have to be aware of, I've had this thought. Okay, great. It's triggered this very powerful emotion. Whoa.
Mhm.
And now I feel like doing XYZ. So I call it like a T cycle: thoughts, emotions, and actions. And, it's a cycle. It's a cycle that happens. And you have to really, really keep a handle on it when you're switching from being calm, me and you being very, very calm now, to being really, really angry. Like, what could you possibly say to me, Philip, to make me angry? Like, you could possibly set me off that way. Whether I keep my cool or not, I don't know. It depends on where I'm at, doesn't it? But we can switch. Human beings switch. We're switching emotions.
Well,
And
it's
it's
that
about,
fight or flight. And
yes,
my problem is everything was a battle, and my DNA would not let me run. And so everything that I got into, I was solving other people's problems that I didn't need to. And that usually got me in trouble because I was protecting someone or doing something that, in my mind, it was justified and almost chivalrous.
you're the protector, Philip.
Yes, the
And,
protector.
we're very good at perhaps protecting other people. Because I always say, oh, I wouldn't harm a fly. I wouldn't do it. But I tell you, if I had to protect you or I had to protect
Mhm.
someone that I liked or loved, I think I would just do it. If I'm having to protect myself, I might not respond as quickly. But protecting somebody else, it just comes over you. You're quite right. But this is this whole thing about where we are emotional beings.
Yes.
That's what we are, and our emotions are like the signals. They help us to see or help us to understand what's going on inside of us. And when we switch from, hot to cold to warm to whatever inside, I would ask you to question, the emotion doesn't just come out of the blue.
No.
The emotion is the end result of something. So if you just read something, like you got you got a bill to pay, was it that set you off? Was it the fact that you went outside and your car wasn't working? Did that set you off? Or did you look in the cupboard and you didn't have the food that you wanted? Did that set you off? So you're
Hmm.
working out what set me off, and that's the trigger that then
Yeah.
enters this circle where you got your thoughts triggering your emotions and then your actions. And emotions and actions, they really like there's they're in the same sort of arena because we have an emotional reaction which is in our gut really, really quickly, which is why we talk about gut reactions. I've got a feeling in my gut. And then, because we've got lots of nerve endings there, that travels up the back of our vagus nerve, which runs up the back to the base
Hmm.
of our spine. And that then goes into our brain. And our brain decides, ooh, what does this feeling mean? So we use all of our experiences to try and work out, what does this feeling mean? The last time Joy felt like this, it meant this. So that's it. The last time Joy got really, really angry, this feeling of anger, it meant that someone had irritated her. Someone had stolen her cream cake.
Yeah.
For me, it's cream cakes and chocolates. You're in trouble. You're in big trouble, Philip, if you do that. Okay. So my brain's going to say that it must be something like that. Or Joy only gets angry when, she runs out of sugar. Or Joy only gets angry when, as you said, she's defending other people. So we've got our own little world of
Yes.
experiences, like a big, huge filing cabinet, Philip, of when this happens, then this happens. And our emotions are a signal that there's something that's a bit out of kilter in your world. I'd like to think you're having good
Well,
feelings.
we repress them, and we're taught to repress them because in a male-dominated, misogynist society, it's considered feminine to show any emotion other than anger and frustration. And because we bottle that up, well, no, it's about balance. We have these emotions for a reason because it balances out our being and the chemicals in our body and our brain, everything that is produced. And that's where I thrive in chaos. I like it because it's easy. I know how to respond.
You're the best person to have around in a crisis then, because I'm
But
rubbish
this
in those situations.
daily stuff, this mundane, boring, nothing happening, is the problem that we have when we get out because we're so used to that. Because I was so used to being over in Iraq, I was there almost 4 years, and I learned so much, and I got to do what I've always been trained to do, and
And
now
also,
I
I
come
would
back.
and I would say that your emotional, if we imagine it as a set level of
Yes,
excitement, from leaving first when you left, your excitement level, you needed this much to make you excited, like, yeah, whatever. After being in that situation, you're very vigilant. Your excitement level is like, I need this. Your body needs it. It craves it. You've reset your. It's almost like resetting the point at which you would like go like that, or the point at which you feel good. So you do need an awful lot of input to feel
yes,
alive. To feel alive. So people do things like extreme sports, don't they? You think, why are they doing these extreme sports? They want the adrenaline rush. They need the adrenaline rush. Makes us feel alive. And some people live life on the edge that way. They know that they could die. I watch over in the UK. I don't know if you ever watch. I think it's motorbike riding. The boat motorbike riding. There's something called
yeah,
the TT or something. I don't know. I watch it when my partner's watching it, but
sure,
there's a little place, little island where they just ride round as some sport, and people do it, and yeah, it looks really dangerous, like, and every now and then people die, and you have families where the son does what the dad does what the uncle did, and you keep thinking there's these families where the children and the family for generations keep on doing this because the mothers and the women left behind just say, well, that's what they want to do. We know it's part of what happens, but they want to do that. There's an excitement about that. And it's a bigger question, in a way, Philip. How do we know that we're alive if we're only having a safe life?
true. Or living your best life. You don't know until you get out there and you experience life.
And a bit
Get
and a
off
bit of
the couch.
edge, a bit of edge,
Yes,
edginess. We need that edginess as well. So there's a balance. There's a balance. But I
I
think, as you said,
find myself being underwhelmed a lot
thank
now.
you. There you go. There you go. But you're very good in a crisis.
Yeah,
Whereas I'd be rubbish in a crisis. I'd be rubbish. I'd be like falling apart saying, I'd be like that, the rabbit in front of the headlights, or I'd be like a tree frozen, because my stress response is not going to make me jump into action. The fight, the flight, run away, or
hmm,
freeze. I'm a freeze person, like, what do I do? It takes me a while before I then work out what's going to happen because, from a biological perspective, the emotional center in the middle of our brain, it's just meant to respond quickly to something. It wants you to live. It wants you to survive. It doesn't want you to see a lion approaching you and me and you have this major conversation, Philip, about how big it is. Did it brush its
yeah,
hair this morning?
that's
It hasn't
things
brushed its
bigger
teeth,
than my
has it?
head.
Yeah. We're like, let's not have this very, very smart brain conversation, which is the front part. The
Yeah,
middle brain, where the emotional center is going to say, run. Run fast, Joy. As
yes,
fast as you can. Now, once we've both run and ran away up the hill or wherever it is, then we can have this conversation. Wow, did you see that lion? It was big, wasn't it? But if we stand around and have this very logical conversation, we could both die. So we are designed for survival. That is it. And anxiety is a big thing in society. Depression is on the rise. All kinds of things are on the rise. But I think we're setting ourselves up with too many things that are anxiety provoking.
hmm,
My phone isn't charged, or, my email's just gone off, or I broke a nail, or, my boss wants to see me. It's like, yeah, is it life or death? No. Well then. So we're using very,
Woosah.
very many. We're using too many everyday events
Yes.
and putting them on our scale of anxiety. They're not anxiety provoking, really, but we've created this imaginary scale. And then obviously there's some real things to do with social media, triggering stuff around self esteem and feeling that you could be
Oh,
rejected, or feeling that someone won't like you, or people pleasing. So it's triggering this whole an ancient tribal response in us, really, to belong. Because if
yes.
I don't belong, that means I'm out in the cold. If it's a cold winter's day and I've fallen out with the tribe, I'm out in the cold. Philip, I'm going to die. So we've got an innate thing going on about trying to stay in with people. So don't
Yes.
be shocked that we try to do that. But with the social media, is it real? Is it false? I've got millions of friends, but no one comes around when I need them. Is it a real situation? But human beings want to belong. So we're
Yes.
finding our ways of belonging. And the fear comes in when someone might reject us. So if like we both met via LinkedIn, but if I'd put a post in there and you'd hated it, I'd be terrified of you, or vice versa, or I might not ever post anything again. But that's not real fear, is it? That's like, I'm not going to die. That's just that somebody doesn't like me.
Self-inflicted.
Someone doesn't like me.
Well, hey,
It's
we're
you.
getting close on time,
Yeah.
and I greatly appreciate we could sit here all day and talk because emotional intelligence changed my life, and it gave me a better understanding of who I am. And with mindfulness, it's been a phenomenal ride because I'm having fun. I get to do what I want to do and interact with people. And I thank you for your share on your son. That was very deep. And thank you for sharing that.
My
It's cool.
pleasure. If I
And
don't share that kind of stuff, and there are people out there that could do with hearing that conversation,
yeah,
either on a personal level, or they could be family members, because it's real. Let's talk about the realities of life.
outstanding. And that's what
Yeah.
I look to do. And that's why these are unscripted because it should come off the raw top of your head because it's about you. And give me in 30 seconds, what are some lasting words that you want to say about yourself and the audience?
Lasting words about me. Well, my reason for being is to spread joy. My name is Joy, so I've been given that name. So that let's not pretend about that one. But really, my real pleasure is seeing people recovering from difficult situations, helping them to understand that they can have a different thought in the next moment, and therefore they can have a different feeling, and to just stay in that place where they are responsible for their own happiness and their own contentment, to stop blaming other people for things that happen to them in their life. And yeah, stay in the driver's seat of your own life. That's what I would say.
Outstanding. One of the things I heard the other day was if you want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, you do it with other people.
Exactly.
And I'm in it for the long haul because hey, I get to have fun until the Lord doesn't want me here anymore.
That's what you want
I
to
get
do.
called
And
up.
and your role, in a way, Philip, is like a conduit.
Yes,
You are that channel for people like myself and other people that you have on. That's your role. The
yeah.
information you bring people,
Facilitator.
you bring us to the world. You're a facilitator. That is the word, a
That's what I
facilitator.
did in Iraq. I
Yeah.
facilitated
Yeah. And this is what you're
make
still
sure get
doing.
things done.
This is what you're still doing.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love it. Well, and I appreciate you. And how would anybody get a hold of you?
If you want to get hold of me, you can find me on LinkedIn. So it's Joy Langley. And if you look on the LinkedIn site, you can find me. Otherwise, I've got a website, which is joylangley.com. So you can't miss that one. So my name as it stands with .com at the end. You'll definitely be able to trace me that way. That's the best way to get hold of me. And if you really, really can't get hold of me, contact Philip. He'll know how to get hold of me.
Yeah, I'll get a hold of you.
Absolutely.
And remind everybody, you are in the UK.
Based in the UK, just outside of London, in Buckinghamshire,
So
where
make sure
Meghan and
you,
Harry got married, near there. They're not very popular in the UK at the moment.
yeah. But hey, Joy, it's been a pleasure, and I thank you very much for your kindness and your sharing.
My pleasure. Absolute pleasure.